You are in for an interesting ride.
Welcome to the Ammach Project Archives, and this is the last episode featuring material scientist Steve Colbern and some of the testing that he did under the banner with Roger Leir of A&S Research. And of course, Roger Leir died. He was the podiatrist who brought in a team of surgeons to take out implants, and he also researched them and found some amazing work. He worked under the banner of the Alien Scalpel, and that is the book that Roger Leir wrote. And meanwhile, I looked at this material again and I thought it was too good not to share. And so Steve takes us through the processes, and we have a guinea pig who is being tested for radioactivity, for fluorescence, because fluorescence can show up after an ET contact. Anyway, you're going to hear more of that in just this few minutes of an interview that we did back in 2013. I'm also wearing an Open Minds t-shirt because in 2009, even further ago, I was part of a group of people who were subjected to a black light test, and I just did it for fun. And the idea is that if you have had contact with ET, the marks can last on you for quite a long time, sometimes up to a month. And normally the colors that fluoresce are orange, yellow, green, and blue. Well, guess what? Apparently I showed up so. And they said that those showing up with those fluorescent marks under their black light testing got the t-shirt. Yes, that I actually had forgotten about that. So I thought I'd show the evidence of the t-shirt, and I hope you're going to enjoy listening to this short interview, just a few minutes with Steve Colbern, talking about some of the evidence things that you can create with researching ET contact. So we're now over to Kat King, and Kat King's just going to take us through the process. Kat, thank you very much for allowing us to do this.
Oh, this is wonderful. Yeah, this is Steve Colbern's idea, and basically what we do is we're looking for alien implants. We have 5 different tests that we go through. It's all based on science. Of course, we can't say positively because nobody's admitting that there are aliens out there.
Yeah.
And we start off first by asking questions. These questions are pretty basic for people who have had experience and have memory of it, but they're for people who maybe are new to this, helps them to kind of orient themselves and helps us to understand what they understand.
Yeah.
First question is, have you ever had missing time? Have you ever had the feeling of being paralyzed in bed? Have you always felt different than other humans? Have you ever had unusual marks or burns that have no explanation? You don't know where they came from? Have you ever had experiences where you've had something like right here, right next to you, you go to pick it up and it's gone, and then you look everywhere for it, and then it's right where it was? Have you had a period in your life where all of a sudden your thinking changed and maybe you wanted to become a vegetarian, or you wanted you wanted to support humanitarian causes, or support the ecology or anything like that? Do you have any strong fears that are unfounded, like of clowns, spiders, snakes, heights, being closed in? When you're alone, do you feel watched? Have you ever felt that while you were dreaming, that you were falling through the roof, and all of a sudden you hit your bed and you wake up? What about sinus problems that can't be explained? And the last question is just, have you had paranormal experiences?
With Steve Colbern, who's a material scientist, and I'm just going to get Steve to explain a little bit about what that involves.
First of all, we do a body temperature scan. Abductees tend to run low on body temperature by at least 2 degrees for the most part. Then after that involves an instrument like this, such as they use in the doctor's office, a radiant infrared instrument. And then after that, we do a stud finder scan, a small metal detector scan to try to find implants under the skin. They're especially prevalent in the head, above the ears, back of the neck, and in the third eye area of the forehead.
Could you tell us a little bit about your work as a material scientist and how you see the correlation between the implants, that technology, and what you're working with?
Well, I'm working on carbon nanotube materials right now, and it's kind of a synchronicity because it turns out that when you analyze these implants, they contain carbon nanotubes. The electronics of these devices appear to be based on networks of semiconducting and metallic carbon nanotubes, and that's something earthly science is working on, but it's beyond our technology right now. They're actually dispersed in the metal. Some of these things are ultra strong as a result too. One we had to cut with a high power laser, and diamond didn't scratch it. Carbon nanotubes have a lot of amazing properties. They're the world's strongest material, and they can be used for electronics, and the nanoelectronics of the future are going to be made of carbon nanotubes, and it seems like the aliens have already perfected the technology. The next thing is a metal detector scan to try to detect implants under the skin. Often implants above each ear with frequent flyer abductees, or what I call class 2 abductees.
I like that, frequent flyer abductees.
Positive signal there. Strong signal there. Moderate signal right there. If somebody gets an implant, often the portals of entry are healed within hours. I've picked up signals above each ear, and that's printed on most abductees that get taken a lot. This side was less strong than this side. Very strong signal back here, and a moderate signal here, stronger than I'm used to seeing. There's a heck of a difference between strong and suspecting that you're an experiencer. For sure. Strong signal on lower back. Most of these devices are on nerves, and often they hurt even under anesthesia when they're removed. And nerve cells grow from the peripheral nervous system into the device. There's always proprioceptor nerves around the objects. People have reported kind of electric shock type feeling after an implant's inserted, and that's probably the nerve cells growing in the device.
Ah, right.
That's my working hypothesis right now.
And of course, maybe there are different implants for different purposes. Who knows?
Oh yeah, there's different models of implants. We've seen at least 5 different types so far. Yeah. 5 to 7 different types. Most of them are small cylinders, about 4 millimeters long and about 1 millimeter in diameter, but there's other types too, triangular ones, biological ones that are made out of inorganic fibers. Some of them do move under the skin. We've never actually extracted one like that. Willie Strieber has one in his ear. Dr. Leir got a piece of it and found that it had cilia on it that presumably enable the object to move under the skin.
Right.
Gauss
Processes,
meter
Steve?
scan.
The Gauss meter?
Meter scans. If these objects have any magnetic field, we just compare the reading a couple inches away from the body with the reading right close to the body where the object is thought to be. Monitor frequent flyer abductees 24 hours a day, so they may know we're doing this procedure now.
I'm sure they do.
About 20 milligauss there.
So would you read that as 23 point?
214. There's probably a lot of magnetic fields in here, but we're trying to get the change from a few inches from the body to the spot.
Gosh, that's getting higher and higher.
It's about 20 milligauss. The next step would be to do this in an opto-isolated room, like a Faraday cage.
A big reaction on that right arm then.
Seems like the tissue itself can get magnetized after an experience too. Things that don't normally magnetize can magnetize. Exposure to alien equipment like wood, plastic.
John Hutchinson has managed to do that as well. And what time frame do you tend to find radioactivity?
Well, sometimes back of the neck implants seems to be mildly radioactive, not a number of times. If the radioactivity was on the skin and it came from alien equipment of some kind, then yeah, probably it would be washed away if they'd taken a shower.
This is all that we've ever wanted to do with Ammach as well, so hopefully one day, we'll get enough funding to get this kind of equipment. So we take that as background at the moment.
Well, I certainly have reason to believe that they monitor Class 2 or frequent flyer abductees 24/7. We've seen many instances that tend to indicate that.
The other tests so far certainly have shown there are implants there.
The last test is an ultraviolet test to reveal the presence of any UV fluorescent dyes that might have been transferred to her body after a recent experience. These things last up to a month on the body. They're darn near indelible. They don't wash off very easily. There's a yellow-green dye. There's 3 dyes that are commonly seen: a yellow-green dye, a blue dye that's like a bright cobalt blue, and bright orange dye. The orange is the least common. The blue seems the most durable, it's hardest to wash off. I'm trying to find out the exact chemical structure of the blue dye at this point. From what I've found out so far, it seems to be some sort of indole compound. Perhaps some indole-containing polymer that lights up under ultraviolet light. It may have pharmaceutical as well. Compounds or indole rings are components of certain drugs like antidepressants, things like that in the brain. That's my working hypothesis anyway at this point. When the exact chemical structure is discovered, that might be a big deal if it's an unknown compound.
An ultraviolet test, sometimes known as black light, and basically these different colours are very prevalent on the body, and it can show for, I thought it was a less time than a month, but apparently absolutely up to a month, and it's like an indelible colour. And I know because back in 2009 I also had a black light test here at the International UFO Congress when it was in Lachlan, and indeed not only did I show the orange but also the others. So I don't know about the blue, but certainly the green, the yellow and the orange. So that gave me food for thought, I can tell you, and it got me a T-shirt so with open mind. So I don't know about that. I'm really not sure.
She says that's not makeup, so it's kind of an unusual color, though.
Oh, yeah.
Looks like some of the orange dye and some of the blue dye on the neck there.
I had tons on mine in 2009. It was unbelievable. It freaked me out.
I think I remember that.
Steve, we're talking about the UV light. So talk us through the different lights that you're using.
A 3-wavelength UV light, UVA, B, and C. The UVA is the standard black light that most people use, and I found that UVA does not show up the dyes nearly as well as the B and C wavelengths.
Right.
The B is best for the blue dye and the yellow-green dye, and C is best for the orange dye, but C also shows up the yellow, green, and the blue pretty well, much better than the UVA. In general, show up approximately 10 times brighter under B and C than under A, and most people use the A. And you also have to have a lot of power with the light, several watts at least. Most of the black lights people use are pretty weak.
Steve, thanks again. Brilliant.
Sure.
Tell us what you think.
Well, it seems like she has several implants, most likely. We have to confirm that by x-rays to make sure that there are really objects there, but something showing up on the stud finder scans, and it's usually pretty indicative of a metallic object under the skin. With people that are taken quite a bit, that have a lot of experiences to get a UV light and check themselves on a regular basis at home. You can get UVC lights, and the mineral lights. They use them minerals, fluorescent minerals. So I'd recommend getting one of those used. It's not too expensive to get one used, maybe perhaps $100.
Well, that's on your shopping list, Steve Colbern, a little bit later. So, thank you, Steve.
Absolutely. Very much.